The recent question that I got was, what is the hardest part about deciding to stop drinking? And it was a guy, he was in his late 20s, and he asked me if I ever feel left out because I don't drink. So that's pretty much what I'm going to go into in this video. What is the hardest part about deciding to stop drinking when everybody else around you still drinks? Before I had decided to stop drinking, I had this question as well. And it was probably one of the biggest reasons as to why I didn't stop drinking for a while. I had been considering it for probably 5 years before I actually did stop, because I was blacking out too often. I was browning out. I was acting in ways that were inconsistent with my character. I was ruining friendships. I was ruining other relationships. I wasn't hitting my potential. I felt like shit for 4 days because of a hangover, always recovering, never feeling top notch, and just kind of stuck in this cycle. And it wasn't until 25 or 26 that I actually made that decision. And yes, I was terrified that I was going to be left out because I wasn't drinking. And I will have to say that the hardest part of deciding to stop drinking is that so much of society hasn't caught up to that new lifestyle. And so much of society is brainwashed into believing that alcohol is actually bringing us something better than, the alternative of not drinking, or that alcohol, it's been so normalized in our society and over years and decades of history in our parents' lives and their parents' lives, that to not drink seems like this completely crazy, abnormal thing to do. And so that is the general consensus amongst society. That is how I thought of it, at least, before I decided to stop drinking, that why would you not, no one doesn't drink. So because of that, when you decide to stop drinking, you're sort of in a pod of your own, let's say. The masses are all over here, right? As far as everything they're doing. They're going out and getting drinks at the bars. They're going to get happy hours together. They're relaying funny stories and things that happened when they were drinking. They're, sharing good and bad memories and everything, right, over drinks. Whereas me over here, I had decided to stop drinking completely and cut that substance out of my life for a lot of different reasons. But when you're in that space, suddenly it's like you can't relate to these people over here as much, and they can't relate to you as much because your lifestyles are just different. Like when I was drinking, I was having, I would say I got along with more people out there because I drank. Like it was a common denominator between all of us. So because I drank and because they drank, we automatically had something to do. And when you drink, you automatically have more to talk about. When you decide to stop drinking, that common denominator completely flushes away. And that makes relating to this group of people much more, I wouldn't say it's difficult, but you don't relate to the masses like you used to. You have to find the people that you actually have a genuine connection with without substance attached to it. And the other side of that is that these people, the masses that do drink, they don't have as much to relate to you on. So do you feel left out sometimes? Absolutely. Absolutely, you're going to feel left out sometimes. And that's kind of a shitty reality with, I think, evolving ourselves. I know as I've evolved in my career, moving from an employee to director, I have felt that dissonance between people that are considered more like my employees, my people, that they would look at me as a boss. There is a separation there. And that's because I leveled up in my career at that stage in my life. That's kind of the next step for me. And there are fewer people in that job role than there was in the old role that I had, which was more of an employee that would be reporting to a director. Now that I'm the director, though, there are fewer directors and you're somebody's boss. And that is going to separate you from people. So it's the same thing with drinking. It's when you decide to step out and do something different, you are separated from people in a way that the majority is not going to be able to relate to you. And that creates a bit of space, and that creates a little bit of dissonance. And it does feel lonely sometimes. And it does feel like you're excluded sometimes because you can't relate to people the same way that you used to. That all said, right? Like that is probably the hardest part, is having that separation and feeling that little bit of feeling left out sometimes. I will say that the trade-off is so much greater though, because had I continued to continue drinking, I would have such a chaotic life for myself, and I would have so much less security in myself that I would feel left out anyways, because I feel like I would have said some shit, done some shit, acted a type of way when I was drinking that would have made me almost like act out of character, and therefore like the people around me would have been pissed off or annoyed at me. Like it definitely happened before, where I would be acting a fool drinking, and you say you're never gonna black out again, but inevitably you do, and then you say some shit, and then you're like, man, why did I say that? And at that point, then you're immediately like, you're separated then. So for me with drinking, at least I know that I'm actually doing something that's like improving me and making me a better person. And eventually I'm finding those other like-minded individuals who don't drink and who also, have similar interests to me. And it takes a little time, but that feeling of being left outness, not being able to relate to the masses, eventually it goes away. It's just something that, is something that I think we all have to deal with. So that is the hardest part about, deciding to stop drinking, that being able to relate to the masses. But just have to remember that there is never a crowd on the leading edge. And I truly believe living life without drinking is on the leading edge. And I think that people are waking up to this because we have more information out there, and we just don't want to feel like crap. We're more aware of what mental health is, and there's more conversation around that. And I think that this choosing a life without drinking is becoming slowly but surely more common. So I believe that as a society, we have been taught and brainwashed to believe that we need alcohol to live a happier, better life. And no one would logically say that and believe that, but subconsciously that is something that I know I believed before I decided to stop drinking when I was 25 or 26 years old. Contrary to what I actually believed, it turned out to be hands down the best thing I ever did for myself. I get a lot of people that come up to me in private when I'm at bars, or if I'm at a party or weddings, or really whatever it is. Usually it's after having a couple drinks themselves, later into the night. But people usually want to know why I decided to stop drinking and how I kind of landed on that decision at the age of 25 or 26. You're definitely not alone if you are considering a life without drinking, even if you're in your teens or 20s, 30s. I'm here, and there's so many other people here that are living that life without you. So don't feel alone, because you've got people behind you who can share probably all of your exact same sentiments on this. So if you guys are considering living a life without drinking, go ahead and subscribe below. I talk about that. I also talk about living life in a carnivore lifestyle to improve our mental and our physical and make our lives just as amazing as possible, to break these matrices that we're stuck in, that we've been brainwashed to. If you did like this video, please go ahead and like it so that other people who might need to see it can actually see it via the YouTube algorithm and all that. If you want to contribute, you have a question, comment, go ahead and drop it below. I'm sure somebody else also has a similar question. But guys, I really do always love talking about this kind of stuff, and I so appreciate you watching. Would love to see you on the next one, and I hope you have a great day. See ya.